Pokemon fans and glitch hunters, last time we started covering all the glitches in the first generation Pokemon games, and we saw some pretty spooky stuff where we left off in Lavender Town. This time though, we're going to be covering some of the more famous and well-known glitches, starting with the ever-mysterious Missingno. Certainly you all must have heard of Missingno by now, right? There are tons of rumors surrounding it. Some claim it was supposed to be the missing evolution between Marowak and Kangaskhan, some claim it's supposed to be a Pokemon that got removed before the game was released, and the list goes on and on. But what is it really? Well, there's actually a very simple explanation.
Missingno is an error handler. What does this mean? Well, an error handler is something programmers put in a game to keep it from crashing if something goes wrong, and to fill in space where they haven't finished programming everything yet as they're developing a game. In the event of a glitch, an error handler is pulled up to fill in for data that does not exist, so that the program remains stable and can continue to function. Basically, Missingno is a placeholder. You know how when you multiply decimals, you're supposed to add zeros to keep your place? That's what Missingno's job is.
He's just filling in space so the game doesn't have to scramble to find data where there isn't any. That's why he's called Missingno. If there's ever a missing Pokemon, he shows up to save the day and keep the game running at least somewhat smoothly.
So, how does one encounter this placeholder? Well, the most well-known method is the old man trick. See, Game Freak made a slight boo-boo when programming wild Pokemon data in Route 20, namely that wild Pokemon should appear there, but they forgot to specify which Pokemon they wanted to appear along Cinnabar's east coast. This is why when you search there normally, Pokemon from the last route you visited appear instead of the usual water Pokemon. Now, what does the old man have to do with all this? When you talk to him and have him demonstrate how to catch Pokemon, your name is temporarily overwritten so that the words Old Man appear where your name usually does. The data for the name you chose is instead stored somewhere else, and because there are no wild Pokemon programmed for that strip of land in Cinnabar, the developers decided to store the data for your name there, in that strip of land. So, when you watch the old man's demonstration and then immediately fly to Cinnabar without loading any other Pokemon data in between, the Pokemon you run into on the coast are the Pokemon with corresponding hex numbers to the letters of your name. Understanding how this trick works, you can actually manipulate which Pokemon and at what levels you want to appear along Cinnabar's coast while performing this glitch. See, the odd-numbered letters of your name determine which Pokemon you run into, and the even-numbered letters determine their levels. For example, both Mewtwo and the letter capital D share the hex number 83, and the level is determined by the numerical position of the letter plus 127 for uppercase or 159 for lowercase. So the name DDDDDDD would make it so that you run into Mewtwo's on the coast, all leveled 163. Special characters also have different values, and can cause you to run into glitch trainers or Pokemon leveled in the high 200s. You can even battle a glitchy Professor Oak if one of the characters in your name is the MN symbol. A word of caution though, battling these glitchy trainers almost always results in the game crashing, so make sure you save the game before you attempt this. However, there's one character in your name you don't have a say in, and that's the invisible end namespace. It just lets the game know that that's where the text for your name ends, and not to add a whole bunch of blank spaces onto the end of any line that shows the player's name. This character has the hex number of 50, which just so happens to be Missingno's hex number, so no matter what your name is, you will always run into Missingno. There are a few different versions of Missingno, of course. The hex numbers B6, lowercase w, B7, lowercase x, and B8, lowercase y, result in Missingno with various unused Pokemon sprites found within the game. For example, the Kabuto and Aerodactyl fossils from Pewter City's museum, and the Ghost Sprite from Lavender Town. Try different names and see which Pokemon, glitchy trainers, and other effects they result in.
There are some side effects to encountering Missingno though, some good, some bad. First, some reports say that encountering Missingno causes your game to save, so you shouldn't just shut off your power randomly in the middle of battling him. It's likely that this is an intentional effect added in by Game Freak, to prevent the player from losing progress should the game actually crash due to whatever circumstances caused Missingno to appear, since Missingno's job is to keep glitches under control.
Secondly, encountering this glitch Pokemon causes the 6th item in your bag to be increased in quantity to 128. This doesn't mean it adds 128 to the total number of this item. No matter how many you had to start with, it will always be increased to 128, as long as you had less than 128 to begin with. Because items in the bag normally can only be carried up to 99 at a time, the number next to the item will become glitchy symbols, but will still count as 128. This is caused by Missingno's Pokédex data. Every Pokemon has 2 separate bit lists that tell the game whether the Pokemon has been seen or caught. In Missingno's case, that data is the same data that stores how many of the 6th item in your bag you're carrying. Most people consider this a good side effect, and use it to duplicate rare items such as rare candies and Master Balls, can also duplicate key items, but that can cause some problems with bag usability, so I don't recommend it. Lastly, upon encountering Missingno, your Hall of Fame data can become corrupted. Why this happens I can't explain, but it's not particularly crippling, unless you really care about your Hall of Fame data for some reason. Other effects include some temporary graphical glitches. In fact, if you catch an apostrophe M or a Missingno and deposit it into your PC, viewing its stats followed by your glitched up Hall of Fame data on the PC in the Sliff building causes even more severe graphical glitches, though resetting should fix this. Just make sure you don't save the game afterwards or you could be stuck there forever. Wait, what's apostrophe M? Missingno isn't the only glitch Pokemon you can encounter using the old man trick. Many people also encounter a glitch Pokemon called Glitchblock apostrophe M Glitchblock, or just apostrophe M for short. It's identical to Missingno in almost every way, except it has some different stats here and there, like which attacks it can learn and so on. It has all the same side effects, the auto-saving, the item duplication, the messed up Hall of Fame data, you get the idea. A slight difference between the two glitch Pokemon is if you catch Missingno, the battle ends like it normally would if you just caught a regular Pokemon. In apostrophe M's case though, the battle continues after you catch it, only instead of still facing apostrophe M, you'll now be facing a Ditto. This Ditto is also catchable. I've caught quite a few apostrophe M's and Missingnos in my time, and I've found them to be completely harmless. Never once has my game gotten erased or irreparably messed up. If you raise a Missingno or an apostrophe M, when either one of these glitch Pokemon evolve, it happens because the game is trying to replace a Pokemon that doesn't exist with a Pokemon that does. This is why Rhydon or Kangaskhan, Pokemon with the hex numbers 1 and 2, are common evolutions of Missingno and apostrophe M. So no, Missingno isn't the missing link between Marowak and Kangaskhan. It just evolves into different Pokemon based on their low hex numbers.
Now, in part 1, I mentioned how you could get Missingno to appear in Lavender Town. How do you do it? Well, to explain that, I'll need to introduce to you another famous glitch. If you've seen my Pokemon Green Mist video, you already know how this one works, but I'll go over it again pretty quickly just so that we're all on the same page.
In order to catch a Mew, or any Pokemon in the game really, you need to scroll a trainer that wants to battle onto the screen in a single step. While taking this step, simultaneously press start, and the menu should open as the enemy trainer appears on screen. Now, while the menu is open, fly teleport, or escape rope away if you're in a building, and then battle another trainer. They must be able to approach you. If you activate them before they walk up to you, the game will freeze. After that trainer is defeated, return to the route where you fled from battle. A level 7 Pokemon should appear there. This glitch is called the Mew Glitch because it is the only way you can obtain a Mew without having downloaded one from a Nintendo event. So now that you know what the glitch is, here's why it works. When you escape a trainer as you initiate a battle, the game thinks that a battle is supposed to be taking place on whatever route the trainer you fled from is on. Since you're in battle mode, your start button no longer works, and you can't go up and talk to anyone or the game freezes. If another trainer initiates a battle, the game will store the stats of the last Pokemon you fought in memory location CD23 in red and blue, or CD22 in yellow. Suppose you were doing the traditional Mew Glitch and battling the youngster on Route 25 with a Slowpoke. After battling him, the hexadecimal values for this memory location will be as follows. The first byte, 8E, is the same for all battles. The second byte, 11, is the enemy's level, and the next 10 bytes are the enemy's stats, their HP, attack, defense, speed, and special. Each stat takes up 2 bytes. Additionally, this section of memory is surrounded by 8 bytes on each side, which all have the value of 07. The last byte in memory location CD2D, 15, is the important one. It is the least significant byte of the enemy's special stat, which in this case is 21 in standard decimal notation. When you return to the route you fled from battle on, the game tries to resume the battle that never got started there, and for unknown reasons borrows CD2D as the species identifier, and the following byte is its level. If the last battle you fought was with the youngster, these bytes will be 15 and 07. Since Mew's hexadecimal identifier is 15, you'll fight a level 7 Mew.
So now you know how this glitch works and why it does what it does. But that's not where it ends. See, not only can you perform this glitch on that youngster, but basically any trainer in the game, and they all yield different results.
There are even other trainers in the game that when battled during this glitch result in Mew appearing, such as this Pokemaniac and this swimmer in Cerulean Gym. Finally, getting to Missingno and Lavender Town, battling most any of the Chandlers in Pokemon Tower during this glitch will result in encountering Missingno upon returning to the route where you fled from battle. Make sure you use some strong repel before you start the glitch. Running into wild Pokemon in the tower will mess it up. Not only is it cool to run into the creepiest Pokemon in the creepiest town in Pokemon, this is the only way to run into Missingno in Yellow version, as the old man trick no longer works in this version. You can't catch or battle Missingno in Yellow though. It's too busy studying? And when you bring a Ditto into the mix, literally anything is possible. See, if you can't find a trainer in the game that has a Pokemon with a special stat that will result in the Pokemon you want, all you have to do is train a Pokemon with that special stat yourself, and then battle a wild Ditto during the glitch. Allow it to transform into your Pokemon, and then return to the route where you fled from battle. Doing this makes it possible to run into all sorts of other glitched Pokemon, and even glitched trainers, depending on the special stat you choose. Not to mention basically any Pokemon in the game. You can even catch a level 7 Mewtwo if you use a Pokemon with a special stat of 131. Just make sure you battle another trainer before you attempt to battle a Ditto during the glitch, or the game could lock up.
You do need to leave a handful of trainers in the game left unbeaten though, because for one thing, every time you perform the glitch, you need a trainer that you can scroll on screen in a single step. And for another, you cannot battle wild Pokemon during the glitch without battling another trainer first, so you do need to leave a few trainers in the game left undefeated.
This glitch is not without its own side effects, however. If you perform this glitch in Yellow version, on Route 9 using this junior trainer, something kinda weird can happen. Fly away from this trainer, or teleport as normal, and then battle any other trainer. Return to Cerulean City, and read the sign next to the gym. Then walk east back to Route 9. Glitchy text will appear, as well as a battle with whichever Pokemon the glitch calls for. Here I thought my game froze, but the text just stayed there for a long time, so don't give up. After the battle ends, all the sprites in the area will be glitchy. There are other signs that can trigger this besides Cerulean Cities too. The Pokemon Center sign in Celadon, the 4th SNES on the 3rd floor of the Celadon City department store, the poster in the game corner, and the Pidgeot in Saffron City, just to name a few. A similar side effect can occur in any of the first-gen games when performing this glitch and talking to any signpost or person before returning to the route where you fled from. For example, let's perform this glitch using this trainer. Fly back to Vermilion and then head east to fight any trainer. Then go back to Vermilion City and read this signpost. Walk north out of the city and the game will display the words 8 error. See, this is another one of those error handler things I was talking about. It's Missingno's little brother. Effects of this glitch can vary depending on which signpost you read, or even who you talk to in the city before returning to the route where you fled from. In one instance, talking to the man blocking the SSN's dock caused the battle I fled from to resume when returning to the route. Others caused the junior trainers in that area to battle me. This is a fun one to play around with, so try talking to all kinds of different things. Lastly, if you perform this glitch with a poison Pokemon in your party and let it faint during the glitch, when you return to the route you fled from originally, the message that lets you know your Pokemon has fainted will appear again. Remember how I said you can get some glitchy trainers using different special stats? Well, there's one in particular that's pretty interesting. When doing the Ditto trick during the Mew Glitch, and using a special stat of 251, 252, 253, 254, 255, you can encounter a trainer that can really screw up your game. Dubbed the ZZAZZ glitch for what it turns your trainer's name into, this trainer turns all of your Pokemon into level 153 Bulbasaurs that only know Explosion. Sounds like a prank, right? I'm not making this up, you can try it for yourself. It also changes all the letters in your name except the spaces that are multiples of 3 into Z's. For some reason, this glitch doesn't seem to affect anything that's a multiple of 3, so some of your Pokemon's moves or their types may not be changed if they fit into this rule. Unfortunately, I couldn't get this glitch to work at all on my blue version, and on yellow it would only work with special stats 253 and 255, and even then I couldn't get it to perform all of its glitchy effects for me, but I have gotten it to work fully and completely previously, so this may just take a few tries to get right.
So why does it do all this crazy stuff? Well, it changes most in-game variables to a constant of 153, which just so happens to be the hex number for Bulbasaur, the attack explosion, the level 153, and the letter Z. It also changes your OT number, so that means all of your Pokemon won't obey you, since there aren't any gym badges that let Pokemon level 153 obey you.
So can you actually battle ZZAZZ? Well, sort of, but considering your Pokemon mostly only know moves that cause them to faint, and won't obey you on top of that, it's extremely difficult to defeat him. The only sure way to get out of the battle is to throw a Pokeball at the enemy's Pokemon, which will immediately cause the battle to end. If you survive the battle, your team will still be made up entirely of level 153 Bulbasaurs that only know Explosion, save for any multiples of 3 you might have had. Pokemon might appear to be poisoned when you walk around due to corrupted status data, and saving often causes the game data to be erased, due to the player's name now being too long for the game to store when saving. If your name was only 3 characters or less, you will be able to save without your data corrupting and your save file being deleted. But even if you do manage to save, all of your Pokemon will still be disobedient level 153 exploding Bulbasaurs, and some reports even say that this glitch replaces every trainer in the game with a ZZAZZ trainer, making the game unplayable. Needless to say, I don't recommend trying this if you really care about your save file. However, this trainer does have one glitch Pokemon in particular that can be used to perform some other interesting tricks, which is this Pokemon here with a Q in its name. Its hexadecimal equivalent in red and blue is an apostrophe M with a Charizard sprite. This Pokemon is actually obtainable without using a Game Shark on yellow version, and is tradable to red and blue in order to obtain Charizard apostrophe M. First, using a Pokemon with a special stat 192, it is possible to encounter a glitch Pokemon called 44HY in the wild using the Ditto trick in the Mew Glitch. Once caught, if given one rare candy, it will evolve into the Pokemon with a Q in its name. Then, if traded to red or blue, it becomes an apostrophe M with a Charizard sprite. Unfortunately, you can't just catch the Pokemon in your red or blue versions to start with, because encountering it in battle causes the game to crash. If you manage to get a Q or a Charizard apostrophe M, you can use this Pokemon to give virtually any move to virtually any Pokemon. First, you'll need two Pokemon, one with the move you want to give to the other, and a third Pokemon, doesn't matter which. In this example, we'll be using a Pidgey as the Pokemon we want to learn the move, and this Dugong's Aurora Beam is the Pokemon that will be giving the move to Pidgey. Now, we have two random Pokemon with us, this Rattata and this Clefable, and our glitch Pokemon Charizard apostrophe M. Second, we will deposit the Rattata into an empty box in the PC. Next, we will deposit our Charizard apostrophe M, and then the Pidgey that we want to learn the move. Finally, we will deposit the Dugong that knows the move. Now, when we look in our box, only Rattata will be visible, because one of the effects of Charizard apostrophe M is that it causes all the Pokemon below it to become invisible. In this case, the cancel option is really our Charizard apostrophe M, and the three empty spaces below it are Pidgey, Dugong, and the actual cancel option. Next, we will withdraw our Rattata. Doing this will combine the Dugong and the Pidgey together. This means our Dugong has now become a Pidgey, the Pidgey is now a Charizard apostrophe M, and our original Charizard apostrophe M is still a Charizard apostrophe M. So now we effectively have a Pidgey that knows Aurora Beam. However, this Pokemon is now unstable because the species data has been mixed up. It is no longer a real Pokemon, and can cause some unwanted side effects when trying to trade with the Generation 2 games. In order to stabilize our Aurora Beam using Pidgey, we'll need to evolve it into a Pidgeotto. Now the species data is correct and the Pokemon is stable again. If you want to try this with a Pokemon that cannot evolve, you'll need Pokemon Stadium 2. Once the Pokemon has been stabilized, it will not only be a Pidgeotto that can use Aurora Beam, but it can be traded to Generation 2 games. Many sources on the internet claim that once traded to Generation 2, the hybrid Pokemon will appear shiny, but for me that wasn't the case unfortunately. Missingno, apostrophe M, Charizard apostrophe M, and 44HY aren't the only glitch Pokemon you can encounter by using these tricks. There are dozens of glitch Pokemon you can find just by trying different special stats during the Ditto trick and the Mew Glitch. Be warned though, some have worse side effects than others, so do your research before you just go trying random stats. There are some glitch Pokemon that can do your game harm.
That's it for this episode. Stick around for part 3 and we'll turn ourselves into zombies, explore Glitch City, and take a look at some of the glitches you can only find on Green version.